We're live. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Black Man Spy U.S.-Israel versus Iran Warcast Day 11. And I'm starting this podcast. We have our now two co-hosts, my fellow in Chalet of the Two Spies in Greenland, which is Jacob Kaarsbo, Danish intelligence officer, and our special guest, all right, Wajir Lion, expert, Saudi Arabian Gulf resident expert who will be speaking to us today about, from the street level, what it's like within the Gulf states. Hopefully you can give us some insights that we don't have. I am working on an Iranian expert for later in this week. They're in high demand, and the problem is a lot of them are sort of cheerleaders for the war, and we need to get someone who is, someone who's rational, who'll give us a straight intelligence assessment. And they've all been coming up as Israelis or pro-Trump MAGA guys, or working for the Shah of Iran.
A quick comment on that. You know how I participated in a free Iran demonstration here in Copenhagen last week?
Yeah.
I said to them, I fully support your quest for freedom, etc., etc. Now I'm being attacked because I'm saying what is going on does not make sense at all. So now...
Yeah, they did it. They didn't like you said.
Well, what happened? I know what happened. He did what I did. He's probably been up for 5-6 hours, doom scrolling, and ran out of power. And I did that the other day. I started the podcast with 1% power the other day, and we got in about 20-30 seconds into it. I'm like yakking away, and boom, the whole podcast goes down. So we'll wait for Jacob to come back to tell us his sad, sorry story. So why do you tell everybody about yourself?
I am an international human rights activist. I specialize in anti-terrorism and political conflict in the Middle East. I have Sharia law training in the background, and I have at least 10 chapters of the Quran memorized word for word.
That's a little. Do you have all the hadiths memorized?
No, not yet. No.
You're not legit.
I'm not. I'm not worthy of talking about it yet.
That's like saying the Torah, the discussions of the Torah is like 100 volumes, right, or something like that in Judaism. And I know people who their goal is to constantly study it, and you're supposed to get the conflicting arguments, whereas the hadiths are these post. How can I put it? They're post-Prophet Muhammad's discussions of the immediate companions and then other people who were scholars in the contemporary period. I don't think we're going to be reading all those. So, but I'm glad to have you. You're in Minneapolis, right?
That's right. I am in Minneapolis. In the middle of the action. The Alex was shot 3 blocks away from my house.
Wow.
And Good was also shot 5 blocks away from my house.
Wow.
That's for someone that has seen public executions in Saudi Arabia. It was certainly a flashback to something I didn't want to experience.
Oh, well, let's hope that we don't have to see any more of that in the United States. Do you live anywhere near Spy House Coffee? That's my jam.
No, I need to go there.
That's my place. Okay, Jacob, you're back.
I should be okay for sound, right?
Yeah, you're fine. You went out of power, didn't you? You pulled a full mouth.
No, I didn't go out of power. but what I was just saying was I participated in this protest on Free Iran last week. And just because I'm very skeptical of the wisdom of what Trump and Bibi are doing now, I'm being, bombarded with comments from these Iranian diaspora types that believe in all the MAGA bullshit. That's really terrible.
A lot of them are really big Prince Reza Pahlavi advocates, right? Who are pro-monarchy advocates. And they want to see change. They're just not there to affect that change. So anyone who doesn't agree with them, it's knives out, and murder. And I'm getting a lot of that on Twitter. I'm getting loads of that on Twitter. All right, before we proceed,
and I would say I sympathize with them because it's the regime is terrible, but I mean this is too much. It'll hurt their own cause because, like we've said from the beginning, it's like being Ahmed Chalabit. It's this imagination that you can just change Iran like that.
Here's a problem going from one oppressive regime to the other. You end up pushing people to one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And the supporting the monarchists is going in a path where there's a strong possibility where a secular dictator would be in place. Well, that's definitely not gonna make it easy for any of the Muslims that live in there, or any of the Baha'is, or any of the other religious minorities that live there. You're only like making it hard on yourself. That's why we have the current Iranian Islamic Revolution, right? Because the Shah was there, and they used the Shah's infidelity, let's say, as an excuse for the fall of the regime and the current revolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was the oppressiveness of the Shah of Iran, the licentiousness of the insanely uber rich, right? It was literally an oligarchy, oil-based oligarchy, creating this insane kingdom. And I remember seeing back then, by the way, full disclosure, first protest I ever went to in my life was 1979. I went to a protest against the Iranian, Ayatollah Khomeini taking American hostages, and that's where I got onto my whole shtick, and that led me straight into anti-terrorism, counterterrorism, where I would run into the Iranian Revolutionary Guard like every day over 40 years. But that being said, oh, by the way, sorry in the comments, yes, I did do my Chippendales routine there by stripping down from my U.S. Navy shirt. I'm in Montreal. I'm visiting Montreal, and it's going to be like 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be some insane amount of temperature today, and it's already almost 5 degrees Celsius, or it's going to be like 20 degrees Celsius today. And now we're getting a blizzard in 2 days that will take us back to minus 15 Celsius or 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So that being said,
sounds like a nightmare.
Oh yeah, no, I got my cross country skiing and my ski touring training, and I still have a voucher to go at Old Man, going to be on the slopes learning how to snowboard. That being said, let's
Black
go
man
to
snowboard.
Been there, Black Man Ski and the Kalpun Glacier in Austria. Okay, day 10, Warcast. Let's go to the kill board. Right now, the numbers are still unchanged because due to the internet blackout, Iran is still not reporting the International Committee of the Red Crescent numbers. It is now believed to be somewhere in 1,500, up through 200 over the last couple of days. Of course, the attacks are continuing. Israel still holds firm at 11 civilians. Several soldiers have been killed, but they have been killed in fighting in Lebanon. That does not count on the big war count. That is a war of choice that Israel is doing. The United States still holding at 6 other countries. Right now, it is at 18. because it includes 19. It includes the 8 sailors that were killed when the tugboat Mustafa II went to go assist a oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz and was sunk. Lebanon, yesterday the number was at 365. I have not gotten an updated number.
This morning, it's 394.
394, nearly 400.
And there's also been reports of another 2 U.S. servicemen killed, so it's up to 8.
Wait. I have not heard that report on U.S. servicemen. Did it say where?
Yeah, no, but it's from CENTCOM. I checked it early this morning.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, 7 U.S. service member. One must have died. People could have died of their wounds.
It's 8.
8. It's showing.
That's also what it says on the live tracker on Al Jazeera.
An 8th service member has been confirmed dead following a health-related incident at Kuwait. So somebody could have had a heart attack. They're counting in every person that dies in theater. We have sailors that fall overboard every cruise, 2, 3 sailors. Guys that jump overboard, I've seen that. And people who die of, heart attacks and things like that. So 8. All right, we'll update the tracker to say 8. 6 were killed in Kuwait. 1 died of injuries in Saudi Arabia. So we will update that board. An interesting incident happened in Bahrain this morning. Bahrain was struck with a drone as part of our significant activities. It wounded 32 oil workers. They hit a second major oil refinery with drones this morning in Bahrain. So no systems losses reported, according to this. Okay, significant activities. Donald Trump this morning on Fox and Friends gave, I'm not joking, a new reason that we went to war. So this is day 10. This is the 10th. This is the 10th.
Let me write that down.
Write it down. Mark this day. And you should just keep a bullshit excuse log, because every day we have received a new reason that we are going to war. And, I find it absolutely hilarious that people have not figured out that one of the major reasons in the first day was WMDs. Does that sound familiar? They went really far out of their way not to use the phrase, we're looking for WMDs, which was the reason we invaded Iraq. So the new excuse du jour is the United States had intelligence that Iran set out 1,500 ballistic missiles, which turns out to be true because they have thousands of ballistic missiles. 4 months ago, they received intelligence that Iran was going to invade the Gulf states. So the United States had to act preemptively to save the Gulf states from the 1,500 missiles they keep eating every day. So, I guess that didn't work out too well. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense, because the Gulf states are very pissed. Rightly so. They're also feeling very betrayed, and they're feeling left behind. All 3 at the same time.
It's going to get worse. We'll get to that. And let's talk about that when we get into economics. The economics section of this is getting crazy with a capital K. All right. So oil is up $106 per barrel. The market has just opened in the United States. That's the over weekend price of oil. When it hits in the United States, it will probably touch or exceed $120 a barrel by this afternoon. In some places over the weekend, it spiked to $120 a barrel. The European Union has released some of its reserves, and that for about 2 hours dropped the price of oil to a whopping $104 a barrel. But since this war began 10 days ago, oil prices have surged 65% higher than they were in the pre-war. Not healthy. Don't forget, Osama bin Laden said he thought after 9/11, oil should be averaging $140 a barrel. Oil analysts today are predicting $150 a barrel. So we're going to exceed Osama bin Laden's projected goal for what oil should be. Thank you, Donald Trump. You have done Osama bin Laden a solid. Next, on the significant activities, the United States Navy, there is now video, and the U.S. Navy study has almost confirmed that it was a U.S. Navy ship-launched Tomahawk cruise missile which struck the building, killing the 168 kids. There is now video of that Tomahawk and its sister hitting the two buildings, and you can freeze frame it and see it's a Tomahawk. Short, stubby little wings, and then it hits these two buildings, which are near a naval base. So it was a horrific accident. We are usually a lot more precise than that, but the hard part was Donald Trump just 2 days ago said we had nothing to do with this. Well, you might want to call your Secretary of the Navy, who, by the way, is a guy who has no Navy experience, doesn't even own a boat, and was selected because of his erotic art collection and his $10 million campaign donation to Donald Trump to be Secretary of the Navy. Yes. I'm more qualified than him simply because I own a hoodie that says Navy on it. So, much less my 40 years doing this. But I don't have 10 million bucks to blow, right?
Yeah. Well, the fact that I go kayaking on the lake here when it's not
fully
frozen,
qualified
makes me overqualified, actually.
Overqualified, absolutely. Okay. Strikes. The U.S.-Israeli strikes continue throughout the night. There appears to be an increased campaign, and I don't know who the person is that came up with this strike module where they decided that, hey, they had a big revolution in January, and if we hit the specific police and IRGC headquarters where the captives were taken or their bodies were held or where the police came from that killed them, the Iranian people will go, hey, yo, they're striking that police station. Rebellion. Pretty sure that's not going to happen. So the campaign overnight struck many major cities' police headquarters to do what? To break their coffee mugs? I mean, so long as they've got, I always say this, Waji, you tell me this is not true. You know, fi mugga fi hayat, right? If there's a cafe, there's life.
You know? Yeah, of course.
I mean, all you need is street coffee and to borrow one of the mugs. You know what? Turkish hilwa. That's all you have to say over there is Turkish coffee with lots of sugar in it. And the Iranian regime will continue. You can sit there all day with your AK-47 or your G3 rifle and make continuity of government. So the geniuses who are going, well, we've got to blow things up. Let's blow these things up, and then the Iranian people will love us. Don't be hitting any motherfucking cafes. Okay, that's all I'm saying. You want to see the entirety of 93 million people turn against you, hit their coffee houses, see what happens.
I remember I was back in high school when the CIA came up with an equation measuring how many people become terrorists with every strike that kills innocent people in Afghanistan. And it was for every one person, 2.5 people become terrorists. So like it kind of like, and that equation is not from me, it's like from the CIA. So like,
right.
That's like that they're admitting that to themselves to a point, to the fact that they're measuring it in equations. My question to you is that did you hear that the U.S. government was using AI in these strikes for the first time?
Yes, and we know that AI has been a big factor in crunching data. right, and making strike recommendations. As you know, what was the name of the company there? Not, I got Audible stuck in my head. Anthropic. Anthropic was the principal AI tool that was being used. Now, Anthropic's whole shtick was there always has to be a human at the end, right? And the human, it gives the go, no go action. Or it takes that data and makes decisions based on the output for that data. That's what AI really is. It's really, if you watch Star Trek The Next Generation, right? Or, any of the Star Trek movies, the computer don't be making decisions. Captain Kirk makes a decision, or Captain Janeway makes a call, and then the system operates. That is how AI should work. Now, they want, Whiskey Pete Hegseth wants autonomous decision making so that it decides the strike packages, the strike targets, the strike priority, and then assigns the strike to the aircraft that have the most capability and will fly you to a GPS point and perhaps even make the launch. Well, that's how you get 168 school kids killed. And I've read the statements. A couple of days ago, I made the statement that I had been reserving my opinion about that strike until I got the data that I wanted. And the fact that it was near Bandar Abbas, it was in the South showed the Israelis didn't do it, right? That sounds like us. And it sounds like it would have come from an aircraft carrier or a ship launching a cruise missile. So the human element, based on my experience of having been on strikes, planned strikes, do all these things, look, you can get a GPS coordinate wrong by one digit and miss by 100 meters, which appears to be what happened here. But if the computer is just like throwing shit out based on you putting a cursor on a map and you are tired, drunk, hungover. I've come in hungover in my Navy career where I stank of alcohol and hated myself. And you could kill a lot of civilian people, a lot of innocent people. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and the rules of engagement, which Pete Hegseth says no rules of engagement because some decisions have been made at CENTCOM level that are going to impact that and will likely cause more of these civilian casualties. But we've confirmed it now. Tomahawk did kill 168 kids. Trump is still lying, saying the Iranians did it themselves. Okay. Other things with regards to strikes continue. CENTCOM had made a statement this morning that they will not respect protected facilities and locations. Read that as hospitals, mosques, right? NGO headquarters, and buildings full of kids. If they make a determination that it is being used for dual use or used for military purposes. So you
They
could
basically
see,
adopted the Israeli.
boom,
Okay.
adopted the 100% have adopted the Israeli model of warfare. Now, you guys know I always use my disclaimer. I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. Yiddish was the first foreign language I ever learned. The second religion I ever learned of was Judaism because all my neighbors were Orthodox Jews. And lived in Israel, almost married an Israeli at one point. I am not down on Israel. I am down on this, and I am down on the Netanyahu administration essentially turning Trump into the Netanyahu administration with a willful disregard for life. That has never been how we did it. So if I see someone fucking drop a bomb on the Grand Mosque in Shiraz and wipe out 1,400 years of art, culture, and religion, you're going to stoke your own rebellion amongst the 93 million people because that's a bullshit excuse. Bullshit. If there's 100 fucking cops in there or IRGC guys in there, don't put it down. Motherfuckers got to come out and have coffee sometime. So, I mean, God, if you suck that bad at war that you have to destroy a hospital or knock down an entire mosque or a minaret, you suck at war. And we're just flying circles over Iran looking for things to bomb. Does this sound very Vietnam to you? Ask Vietnam how that U.S. total victory, or the Taliban, how that U.S. total victory is working out for us.
But Pete
What do you say,
Hegseth thinks it's a computer game, and it's just all this. Yeah.
They already.
Yeah, what?
They already hit the Ghost. I'm always having a hard time pronouncing it. Golstan Palace. They already hit that.
Yes.
The palace, the one that has rooms made out of mirrors, and
yes,
it's
I saw
very
that.
intricate. Yeah, that they don't care about historical sites anymore. That's they have already done that.
Look, if I was anywhere on these staffs, I'd be writing this shit down and be like, I'm going to be talking at your war crimes trial in The Hague, because I think the next president is going to get rid of that we can't try people at The Hague bullshit. I think a lot of people need to go to The Hague because it's just not the way we did things. In World War II, we had entire organizations designed to preserve culture. Granted, 1,000-bomber raids were pretty indiscriminate, but now this is precision. Another thing that we noticed, guys, ATACMS missiles, launchers, boxes have been found in Kuwait on Camp Buring by Bedouins on camels. I'm not joking. There's a video of it, which means Iran is correct. We have launched direct land war attacks on the land of Iran from our allies, not just our air bases, land attacks. And that's not pretty because the only ones we had seen prior to this were launches coming from Erbil, Iraq, which is Kurdistan. And now this is probably going to give the Iranians a lot more juice to punish the Kuwaitis.
If you look at the stats, Malcolm, that's also why you see the strikes going against Kuwait in an even higher numbers now.
Yep.
And not only from Iran, but also from the militias in Iraq.
Yes. Yeah. And I think Iran, we're going to get to the strike numbers, the increase in numbers here when I do the Iranian segment. But I think they got their sights really set on Kuwait and Bahrain. Bahrain's going down. But Kuwait, they can put a lot of pressure. And what if you woke up one day and the Iranian Heshab Shabi, the militias, start marauding down into Kuwait City, right? From Iraq. It would be mind-boggling. That said, let's go back on to U.S. activities. Donald Trump, in a statement to, once again, Fox and Friends, wants the oil tankers in the Arabian Gulf that are full of oil and natural gas to, in his words, run the gauntlet. He wants them to enter the Strait of Hormuz without permission, without regard. And here's the words he used. He wants the oil companies to get to it because there is nothing to be afraid of because they have no Iranian Navy. And as anyone who has been watching this cast knows, the Iranian Navy was just a show force. That is not where the power. There have been 3 tankers and a tugboat struck. And here's what they were struck.
Known for swarm boats.
And we haven't seen them. We haven't seen them. They got 33,000 boats hidden away in garages and warehouses that we haven't seen yet. So where the hell are they? Well, the first 4 ships were struck with this. First one, drone, Shahed drone. Second one, suicide drone boat. Third one, suicide drone boat. Fourth one, anti-ship missile. Okay? So those 4 ships that were destroyed, 1 tugboat sank, were struck by things that weren't even, and we didn't even know that shit launched until those ships blew up. Okay? And now there's over 200 some odd ships stuck in the channel between Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. There's a big bowl there, and every ship in the Arabian Gulf is porched off of there. And if the Iranians suddenly manifested 200 or 300 anti-ship missiles into that field and set fire to 20, 30, 40 ships, the entire global economy would collapse. And I'm afraid to say it, the Iranians are playing long ball on this. They are being rational combatants, and they're going to let the Americans fly around and blow up military bases and things that they can repair and put back in. Sink the Iranian Navy was never a threat. I fucking savaged them in a 3-hour period in 1988, and all the ships that they got since that time were just show vessels. It's the small boats, the anti-ship missiles, the drones, the 100,000, commandos, Iranian Rev guardsmen who could get into small Boston whalers and come out into the Gulf and wreak havoc. The Iranians have been relatively reserved about that. And I think they were waiting for the Ayatollah Khamenei to be involved. So we're going to talk about him in a minute. So you guys, if you own a major oil tanker, if you have a very large crude carrier or an ultra large crude carrier, an ultra long container ship, hey, just get with it. And Donald Trump says, we have more than enough vessels to protect you. Well, in fact, we have 3.
Well, here's the good news for Trump.
Yeah.
Some good news for Trump. Saudi Arabia announced some kind of plan for a pipeline from East Coast to West Coast. But how long is the pipeline going to take to build?
Well, there is a pipeline. There's a pipeline now. There's a Dammam Yanbu pipeline.
Check on
that, but it doesn't have the capacity of one crude ship.
It can help some.
Very large crude carrier, right? And the Emirates built the Habshan Fujairah pipeline for this very purpose. And the first thing the Iranians did was they hit Fujairah just to remind them that we know where that oil terminates, right? So the Yanbu pipeline just doesn't have the capacity. And voila! The Yanbu pipeline ends up in Yanbu, which is on the Western Arabian Peninsula near what country? Say it with me, Yemen. So if the Yemenis are waiting for the Ayatollah to get into place and to coordinate a strike, that would be a big, oil tankers coming through there. Yemen's war 2 years ago on the Bab el-Mandab waterway in the Red Sea, shipping has never been restored back to those previous amounts because of the threat of the Yemenis didn't go away. The United States struck at them for about a week, and then Donald Trump called it quits. Right? Said the Yemenis had negotiated a ceasefire or whatever the hell with them. No, they just biding their time, building their cruise missiles, building their missile launchers. Oh, help us. We're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Also, Yumbar doesn't have the biggest oil tankers field. Like,
no,
it's not equipped. Like, I'm like Yumbar is a very small town that is like for like very small folk Saudis who like have their chiefs and they're there's not a lot of population and they're not equipped. Like I just looked at I didn't even know of the pipeline until you mentioned it, but like looking at it, it doesn't make sense.
So I mean, these facilities are how can I put it? These facilities were always considered confidence facilities, right? The Yanbu pipeline was supposed to allow Saudi Arabia to bypass in case of war, right? Going through the Strait of Hormuz. Same thing with the Habshan to Fujairah one for the United Arab Emirates. And Fujairah, they're filling tankers. There's about 300 tankers waiting out there. And like the oil that's going to India that's being picked up, they're going to Fujairah for priority shipments. And that goes to India, right? So the Iranians have been pretty smart about, they hit Fujairah once and they're sort of letting that slide. But they have been hitting it. Whoa, the western side, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, all of those places, a lot. Let me tell you something. One other thing that I remembered about Yanbu. Yanbu is where Lawrence of Arabia kicked off his campaign to go to Aqaba, right? And there is a T.E. Lawrence house in Yanbu, if I'm not mistaken. So, Omar Sharif and Peter O'Toole, that's where they did everything. By the way, that was filmed in Morocco. It wasn't filmed in Saudi Arabia.
Of course, it was filmed in Saturday.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been filmed. Okay, Iranian side. Let me go over the latest Gulf statistics by Ibrahim Jalal. He is a analyst at Carnegie Mellon. He did a very, very good analysis of the attacks from the beginning through March 9th, which was yesterday. And he said, whoa, don't listen to the Pentagon. Ooh, the Dow is down. I can't imagine why that is at the opening of the market. He says the campaign is not de-escalating at all. They are just being a little more strategic about their attacks. In the last 24 hours, up to the last 24 hours, there have been 2,904 projectiles launched since the beginning of the war, plus 71, up 7.1% yesterday, up 7.1% in attacks. 75% of those attacks, the weapon system of choice was, take a guess?
Shahid.
Drones. Shahid drones. 75% of all attacks yesterday were drones. So they're just being really smart about this.
Well, they only cost what, $20,000 to $50,000 a drone?
$20,000. $50,000 if you use the sexy ones with the little jets, the Shahid 150s or something like that. But there are a lot of things. So United Arab Emirates has received 1,439 UAVs, drones, since the beginning of the war, 229 ballistic missiles, but it has had an 8.7% increase in attacks. The UAE is getting it. 50%, 57.4% of all attacks have been oriented to the United Arab Emirates. I don't know why. Maybe they didn't get their Iranian military discount at the Fairmount. Maybe, which is why they hit the Fairmount Hotel with a drone. Maybe they were just turned around at the gate, or what? Or didn't let their family into Wild Wadi out in, which is the water park.
They are the most. They are the most pro-Israel of the Gulf states.
Yes,
They're the most pro-Israel, but that's why.
I'm getting I lived there for 10 years as a local jokes in. Wild Wadi is in front of the Burj Al Arab, which is the big hotel that looks like a sail. They hit the Burj Al Arab with a drone 4 days ago. So maybe they didn't get their family discount at Wild Wadi, and they just remembered all of this. And believe it or not, there are grudges that are thrown into the strike analysis by people who are pissed off. But yes, the UAE is the most pro-Israel organization, and they are clearly out to destroy the tourism industry there. Maybe the Iranians, the funny thing is, all of my knowledge about what goes on between the UAE and Iran was talking to people when I was on the Dubai Creek, and I had a good friend. He was a Farsi speaker, and he would talk to these guys on Dubai Creek, where all the DAOs between the UAE and Iran, bringing in all the black market goods, would come from. And the UAE encouraged that. Virtually every ship, every DAO on the Dubai Creek was going back and forth to Iran, and people were making money. I'm pretty sure that's not going to stop. Might even increase. Next, Kuwait has had an increase of 1.9% versus the previous report. They have received total thus far 425 drones, 226 ballistic missiles. Bahrain, somebody has figured out that they are trying to stoke a rebellion amongst the Shia in Bahrain. They have had a 9.3% increase in the last day, 173 drones, 86 missiles since the beginning of the war, and their drones are striking. We saw this morning the Bahrain, the oil fields in Sitra got hit. And that Saudi Arabia is the only one that did not have a significant amount of hits, but they have had 110 drones thrown at them, 14 missiles. They had a 25% increase in attacks. Because Saudi Arabia is so big, right? Just concentrate on the small ones. Oman, no further attacks. They've had 8 drones since the beginning of the war, but they are now seen as the Switzerland, the negotiator. Overall, the drone-to-missile ratio is stabilizing, he says, except for Saudi Arabia, where it's surging. Kuwait's volume is disproportionate to its strategic profile because they can take drones from the Hashab-Shabi, the Iraqi militias there. So that's the Iranian strike report. Now, you guys want to talk about the new leader of Iran? Mujtaba Khamenei.
Mujtaba, yeah, the Messiah.
He is the son of the guy the Israelis killed the previous Saturday in the first moment of this war. This war started with Israel flying into Iran, launching air-launched ballistic missiles, 30 of them, and striking his residence because he and his strategic military council and advisors were all meeting in his residence. It killed him, all of his staff, a good piece of his family, and most
all his
importantly,
family almost.
right,
Almost all his family.
It did not get Mujtaba, but it killed Mujtaba's wife. All right? And as a widower, I know a little bit about grudge matches. And if any of you have ever seen those wild shoot 'em up films where guys go out on multi-gun rampages and like John Wick and the Equalizer and the Patriot, all these things, they're all widows, right? They're all widowers who are mad and go out and they kill 100 people as part of their therapy. Well, now Mujtaba al-Khamenei is a widower. So we shall see. Let me tell you a little bit about his background.
Besides that, he views himself as the Messiah.
He sees himself as the Messiah? Wallah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Mahdi Messiah or the
no, he will
Shia
pave
Messiah?
the way for the Mahdi.
Is he the 12th freaking Imam? Is there something here I'm missing? We need to have a special show on this. We need to have a special show on the Shia versus Sunni religious side. I can talk about it all day, but I mean, full disclosure, Wajid, I have been to the shrine of Imam Ali and prayed in the shrine of Khalif Ali and the shrine of Imam Hussein in Karbala and Najaf.
I told you I'm Sayyid, right?
You're what?
I told you that I'm Sayyid, right?
Oh, yeah? Oh, you're a Sayyid. Wow. Wait, if you have a mole up here, because you're pretty fair.
Hold on. No, I have no mole.
We need to shave that mustache to make sure that he's the Sayyid. What he means is that he is a direct linear blood descendant from the Prophet Muhammad. And there are many families that have that. And you get the honorific title of Sayyid, right? So
that's right.
Okay, so this guy, let me tell you a little bit of background about this guy. I think he's our age. I think he's my age. I think he's 64 years old.
He can also get a granite discount with Air Greenland,
We were just in Greenland together, and while I was there, I found out I was eligible for Air Greenland's elderly discount because, unlike the West, it's 62 in Air Greenland, and it's 65 everywhere else. I can't even get a bus discount, AAA discount, but I can get an Air Greenland discount. I can fly between Nuuk and Copenhagen for $400. And so can he. So, can someone look up how old Mujtaba is exactly so that we know there? But let me tell you a little bit of background. He's got to be my age or older, my age, I think, because he was a combat commander in the Iran-Iraq War. And I did monitoring and analysis in between a lot of my crazy special missions. When we were bored, they would assign us to monitor the Iran-Iraq War. 56. He must have been a freaking kid. He must have been 17 at the end of the Iran-Iraq War, to be a combat commander there. He was an IRGC combat commander. Then, when he grew up and became an adult, he became the commander of the Basji. The Basji are the 800,000 strong militia volunteers. And in total, there are 25 million card-carrying members of the Bashji in Iran. That's out of 93 million people. That doesn't mean that they're fully activated or work with the government. But if he calls issues a fatwa and calls for a jihad, right? Then every one of those people, the Shia Muslims in the world, is obligated to go out and do something in support of jihad. Wajid, what do you say?
I want to say something about this. So Wallahi min jid. So the Saudis were asked during the Cold War encourage Muslims and go do jihad in Afghanistan and fight the Russians.
Right, the Afghan Arabs.
All the Saudis needed to do is come out and issue a few fatwas and make sure that their clergy travel around the world and make sure that the Muslims know that the fatwa existed, that they need to go and do jihad. They did not need to organize any of the actual movement of the people who organize themselves to be member of Al-Qaeda, to be members of Taliban, to be members of all of those together. The same thing will happen with if a fatwa comes from Khomeini. They will not need to lift a finger. People will organize on their own and they will organize. And that is the scariest thing you could think of because you have so many dormant people or like they're just waiting for an excuse to do something.
It reminds me of a story. I've told it here a couple of times. When I was in Iraq, I had over 250 Iraqi bodyguards working for me. And, sitting around when I went to Najaf with one of these guys, it was a festival. It was pre-Ashura, right? It wasn't Ashura. One of my guys was saying, he goes, Chief, if Sheikh Muqtadar Sadr, who is the Iraqi Shia leader of the Iraqi Shia, if he were to say that we are having jihad, or the Ayatollah at that time, Sistani, were to say we were having jihad, I would have to kill you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why? You name there's a kid, there's at least 2 kids named Malik that have been named after me, right? And I was like, why? And he goes, because it's an obligation. We have to. And you're the closest first American guy we know, right? And I was like, look, I'm a Muslim. You can't just kill me. I've been to the shrine of Khalifa Ali and Imam Hussein. And they go, that will get you off the hook. I was like, wow, I learned some lessons. So my guys went in there with me. They were crying and praying. It's beautiful inside the shrines. I even helped them, work on their suicide bomber security protocol there. And but it was an eye-opening lesson for me. Up to that point, I didn't understand the self-starting nature of jihad. Right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, well, it's time to go get my gun, Ma. Time to go start a killing. It's a religious obligation. There has not been a fatwa yet. You were about to say, Jacob.
Yeah. I saw last night on Faituk's news that Grand Ayatollah Sistani, who's still the Grand Ayatollah, has issued a fatwa against Israel and the U.S. Yeah, it's according to Faituk's. It's in Arabic. You can go and find it.
You can find it on this piece of paper.
Okay.
No, but go on. The fatwa is important.
I mean, that is really serious. Because Sistani is the guy.
Yeah. Wajid, can you explain to the audience in very lay terms what is a fatwa? I know, but it's more fun having you say it.
So fatwa is in few recognized individuals, preferably,
key point.
Who act the point, who would represent the leadership of a specific sect of Muslims, whether it was Shi'i, Sunnis, or other sects, and they would be responsible for issuing a legal ruling a religious legal ruling, because Muslims view that they have the ability to have Islamic Sharia law, which
Hmm.
will have all the basics of running social and legal life together. And therefore, a fatwa would not only guide you through this world to go to heaven and the year after, but it also guides you from right and wrong, so you don't break the 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 law. Well, what if the fatwa is out there and it's telling you you need to to grab your gun and go to war? That is the equivalent of the United States back in World War I, World War II, asking people to, join the military to go to war. It's exactly the same thing, just in a different term.
Yeah. And it has the weight of law. It has the weight of absolute religious obligation as passed down from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
people, here's what we don't understand in the West. Muslims don't go to mosque because it's time of day and they have to do it, right? The way we do with church. They do it because it is built into them from childhood, as we like to say. They are steeped in the tea bag of the true religion, and they believe it in their hearts. Every one of them believes it in their hearts. Sure, you get the guys like Wajah, who who will go out and break rules, but most people will believe this and they will discuss it and they will debate it. But when push comes to shove, the hardcore will follow it. No questions asked. Wallah, here we go. So interestingly enough,
So
there has been a new round of missile launches. I just want to make this comment. Known as it's the 31st wave. The Iranian attack is called Operation True Promise 4. And a 31st wave went out a few hours ago. And the code word for launching it was Labayek Ya Khomeini, which means here I am, the new Mujtaba Khomeini. Here I am. Yes. Look at you. Labayek, Labayek. This is what Shia Muslims do, right? I've been through Ashura and came out unbloody. I don't know. Ashura in Karbala. Okay. I don't know how I came out of that unbloody, but we really need a Shia Sunnah Islam explainer Substack
we
video where we
should.
can talk about the procedures and why the Shia Muslims during Ashura, which is their annual pilgrimage to Karbala and Najaf, and it's also the period around the Shia Muslim world, and Shia Muslims are 15% of the Muslim world, where they hurt themselves to feel the pain of the death of the assassination of Khalif Ali by a terrorist group called the Khawarij, and the murder of, or they view as a murder of Imam Hussein, his son, and they hurt themselves. Yeah, they hit their chest. And they go like, they draw it in, right? Well, they boom,
Yeah.
and they use chains. They cut their hair to have blood. They cut their head because when you cut your head, it really bleeds. They whip themselves, and it's part of their religious tradition. Until I was in a city where every person was doing this, and it was clearly explained to me. I could feel it, right? I could understand it. The problem is, if they have a fatwa now against this war. They
They
have
have four.
not okay, but they have not called for a Shia-wide jihad, which could be bad, right? They could have a fatwa saying every Shia in the world is obligated to go out and start defending Shia Islam in any way, from a kitchen knife to a box cutter. And, that would take Yemen, southern Lebanon with Hezbollah, all of the Iraqis. They could make this war way worse than it is right now. You guys agree?
It's already. I'm saying it's going to get worse because right now Ayatollah Abdullah issued a fatwa declaring that shedding the blood. So this is a specific type of jihad. You got to shed your blood. And then Ayatollah Nasser also issued a jihad fatwa against Israel in the United States. Vengeance fatwa, which is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Ayatollah Hussein Nouri issued a written fatwa saying it's obligatory for all Muslims to avenge the blood of the martyred leader. And then you have the Ayatollah Ali of the Iraq also issuing a joint fatwa. The fatwas are starting to come out, and that's the scary part. That's
Yeah, unlike us, people aren't going to just jump up and do it. And people have been asking me. They say, "How come these guys really haven't launched the IRGC or gotten the Iranian army, the Artesh, or the average person like, let's go out and start killing Americans?" They take time, and they do understand the religious rulings, and there are defensive things going on right now. But if they want to go on the offensive and they decide to, and by the way, this actually almost happened in history. I want to say it was in 1988 in Operation Karbala 4. The Iranian army in the Iran-Iraq war almost broke across the Shat al-Arab waterway. And we had intelligence that they weren't going north to Basra. They were going south to Kuwait City. They were like, and we were like, that's not good. Right? They were going to hold Saddam Hussein, but they were going to destroy Kuwait City because the grudge is really not between Shia Muslim and Shia Muslim. It's between Shia Islam and Sunni Islam, as it was decided at the end of the first Islamic fitna, the first Islamic civil war. We could talk about this for a week. Let's go on with the news. I've still got economics and what's going on in the Mediterranean. We're ending near the show. Administration, for those of you who are watching, you see that little heart button on the right? Please just press on that button about 20 or 30 times, and the algorithm will keep this program going to the top. So, that being said, let's talk economics, guys. Oof.
Yeah.
Oil is at its all-time high since the 2008 economic collapse.
Yeah.
All right. That's not good. Yes, the G7 have organized to release their oil reserves. It did push oil down $3 a barrel. I think the market will swallow that in the next hour. And by the end of the day, we could be at $110, $15, $20 per barrel.
Yeah.
And a week, it'll be at 200. Take my word.
Wow, this is not funny. Okay, if those of you don't know it, everything in the world revolves around oil because it is the largest energy producing resource. Oil powers power plants. Oil powers industries. Oil powers high technology. So does natural gas. 20% of all of the world's natural gas comes from the oil, the gas field off of Qatar. And they declared force majeure 4 days ago, where they were like, we cannot be held reliable on gas that does not get to you anymore. We're not paying you anything back. All right. Bahrain declared that today, by the way.
Yeah.
That they are declaring force majeure. Sorry, you shit out of luck. You're not getting your money. And we cannot deliver according to contract because we can't get the oil out of the Gulf. And by God, no one's fucking trusting Donald Trump. No one. And as my article in my Substack the other day, Enter the Dragon, where I wrote, this war could end immediately if the Chinese intervened to give economic assurances that the oil would get through. So if a flotilla of Chinese destroyers suddenly sorties out of Shanghai and in 4 or 5 days shows up in the Strait of Hormuz, and they work with the Iranians to open the SOH, we look like idiots. They look like heroes, and the oil starts flowing, right? And what are we going to do? Still fly strikes over their heads? Things could change dramatically, but I don't know if the Chinese are that astute. Next, somebody described this way. Oh, the next point that I have is Japan has opened up their strategic petroleum reserve. It's getting bad. As you recall, we also had this discussion about South Korea. They said they had 9 days of natural gas reserves when this war started, maybe 10 or 11, and that if it goes much further than that, the world's biggest producers of telephone and AI microchips, computer chips, may have to start shutting down production lines. If they lose the energy, all the chips on the line die, right? They have this process that must be constantly in motion. And they said it would take months to restart the microchip assembly lines, crushing America's AI dreams. This is crazy. If I were president of the United States, right, I'd be like, fuck this shit. We're stopping this. Somebody give me an off ramp. Give me an off ramp now. Give me a way to declare victory, right? Kill Muktaba, and then let's say we're going home.
Yeah.
Or ask the Chinese to come in. I don't know.
But
So
then someone is going to say, what about those that 400 plus kilogram of highly enriched uranium? Where is it?
You should still have that fantasy that it's buried under hundreds of tons of mountain. I mean, keep the dream alive. They have lied their way into this war. Everything here is based on a lie, and the biggest lie was Benjamin Netanyahu for 40 years telling us that Iran cannot have WMDs and that they were 1 week or 2 weeks or a few days ago, they said 11 days from an atomic bomb. No, a high school team could actually build an atomic bomb with the uranium that they have, the 450 kilograms enriched to 60%. You can have a Hiroshima-sized bomb, right? What is that? Like 10 kilotons. But that's it. It'll be the size of a house, right? And you can detonate it, and then that's it. All you will prove to the world is that you know how to read a fucking, a Google Map article, or watch a video from World War II on how to build an atomic bomb. They want an advanced atomic bomb that can be placed onto a warhead. And if they get 10 of those, the military balance of the Middle East changes. So that's very disturbing. In economics.
Still, the danger thing about this, and the reason why I think this is going to go on, and Trump isn't going to take the off ramp, is the fact that now you have Mujtaba, you have the IRGC chief, etc., Vaidi, and that calculus has probably changed now, because I think the old Khamenei was like, okay, we gotta have threshold capability to stay safe. And now they're saying, well, that proved he was wrong. Now we gotta make the leap as quickly as we can. And yes, a lot of our equipment has been destroyed. A lot of this and that has been destroyed. But we can make a crude design, and that will give us the deterrence we need. So that's the shitty part,
Well, I just found this. This just came up from a great guy named Sal Mercogliano. He is an oil tanker captain. He is a marine expert. And he said, we were talking a little bit earlier about Fujairah as an onloading point in the Indian Ocean. He said that they are also, what we don't know is that it's a bunkering port. Bunkering means offloading your oil and putting it into storage until it can be onloaded and sold to another client, right? He said that attack last week has damaged the bunkering facilities in Fujairah. And now, if your oil doesn't go straight onto a ship, you're not getting it. So he said the attack near the Fujairah oil storage has already added fresh uncertainty to the regional bunker market as tensions in the Gulf continue to escalate, according to industry sources. Product loading at the Fujairah oil tanker terminal, which I've stayed in Fujairah, there's some nice hotels there, has been halted. So no more oil storage in Fujairah. So you better go pick it up and run with it, right? That is not good. This I didn't know. Fujairah is the third largest bunkering port in the world.
Okay.
That is technically, okay, in medical terms, they are a blood bank. Imagine a blood bank where all the blood is used. And now you got to go from transfusion to the surgical table.
That's right.
I mean, this shit ain't good, y'all.
Nah.
But don't worry about it, because Baron Trump invested $50 million in military stocks 48 hours before this war and took a major windfall. There needs to be some Nuremberg-style trials and investigations, and some people need to go to prison for insider trading.
If you don't mind me ask, because like I'm seeing something, like that's alarming. Usually when I see nations reserving or taking drastic measures to protect their oil resources, energy resources, they're either getting ready for war,
Yep.
or they're getting ready for a very bad future economic market. And none of that look good. Like none of either or, like it's bad or worse.
Mm-hmm. People don't seem to understand. Definitely not Americans. Let's be honest. Americans, love you. You're the stupidest motherfuckers on this planet. You don't understand how the world works. The only people who are smart are the 1,500 people watching this podcast. And they understand. No, really, because they're here to get the 411 on things which affect their world, right?
Yeah.
The average American doesn't care about that. That this place is essentially, the Strait of Hormuz is essentially one of the four major arteries in the heart of the global economy. And everything that comes to America, produced in America, sold worldwide, is part of that global economy. You can't say, y'all are globalists and we don't want to be involved. Done. All right? Then you don't want your cheap $5 T-shirts at Walmart. Or your leather shoulder straps for your rifles from Spain. You don't want any of that. But that artery is essentially cut right now, and the blood is welling up in the heart and the chest cavity. And it is now making you worse the longer that blood wells up and that artery isn't sewn back together and your freaking heart is not put back. You can go into what's known as fibrillation. Fibrillation is when your heart stops beating in sync and then just shakes violently out of control. And that's why we got to have little electric paddles to put you back into sync. But we're still going to have to drain that freaking blood out of your chest cavity, right? And sew that artery back up. People, this is going to affect every aspect of your life. I'm sorry. And with that's actually, I do have a couple of more things. Mediterranean Sea, right now, France, Germany has sent a frigate, guided missile frigate. The United Kingdom is sending the Ark Royal aircraft carrier. Spain, Italy, Greece, and France have a massive armada stationing off of Cyprus to defend the eastern Mediterranean and to be ready in case Lebanon collapses, which it might do because Israel is toying with invading it. Again, fourth time, fifth time, second time to Beirut, who knows? Oh, God, it's like I'm 19 again. All of this happened when I was 19 and 20 years old. Now, how come it's happening again? The exact same thing.
Yeah.
Then last, the Turkish, in support of that mission, believe it or not, put 6 F-16s in Ekran Air Base, which is in the Turkish-occupied north of Cyprus, and the Greeks have also sent 6 F-16s to defend against drone attacks. So that's really what's going on in the world today. Yeah. I know we've pushed over an hour.
Yeah.
Jacob.
Quick comments on that. What's remarkable from a European perspective is that the Brits are the last to arrive in Cyprus. given the bases they have. The French have been there, the Italians are there, the Greeks are there, the Turks are in the northern Cyprus. So the Brits, it's shambolic. But anyway, what also happened just a couple of hours ago, was the Turks shut down a ballistic missile over their own airspace once again.
Again, a second ballistic missile?
Yep.
Wow, interesting. Let's make a point to remind people that the base at Cyprus that got hit was Royal Air Force Base Akrotiri, but the target was the American U-2 spy plane hangar from the 9th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing, and that drone went right through the middle of that hangar. So it hasn't come up on the board yet. No one has said anything, but if there was a U-2 spy plane in there, it likely got badly damaged or destroyed. Most likely badly damaged. There was no fire coming from there. It's probable that there was no plane. It was likely on mission pulling donuts over the Eastern Mediterranean. But the point is, the Iranians knew where to hit and programmed a drone and sent it right into that hangar. Yeah. That being said, that's it for today. Listen, guys, some administration before we go. Everybody, all 1,600 of you that are watching, if you hit that button across the top that says Black Man Spy, you press that gray rondelle, you will see Jacob Kaarsbo and Wajia Lyons subscription buttons pop up. Please punch that subscription button. That's just a free subscription, no obligation, but it means that you'll be getting their analysis along with my analysis. They're great guys, good commenters. I know I dominate talking because I can talk forever. But please subscribe to them. And if you want to throw some paid subscriptions at them, it's like $5, $7 a month or something. Same with me. I'm trying to hit 100,000 followers on Substack. I'm at 95,000. Please ask your friends to follow the Black Man Spy podcast Substack because, one, I'm the only guy that's going to be giving you this analysis, and I am not going to pull any punches. Everything I say is true, and it is not worth lying or propagandizing over. Sorry that some people don't like what I have to say, but they'll get over it. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. See you tomorrow.
I subscribe to you because this is the first time I've actually tried to push that gray button up, so even I can do it. So I hope all our viewers can do it as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow morning for our next war update.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.